Good morning, respected thinkers, builders, and quiet dreamers. Let me begin with a simple truth most people ignore. Your future is not decided by one big moment, one lucky break, or one dramatic transformation. It is quietly shaped by what you do today and tomorrow and the next day. Life doesn't reward intention, it rewards daily behavior. And whether we like it or not, we are all building something every single day, either a stronger version of ourselves or a weaker one. The question isn't if you're working on something. The question is what you're working on. Now let's talk plainly, not emotionally, not romantically, but truthfully. Ladies and gentlemen, most people believe that success comes from moments of extreme effort, the late nights, the emotional breakthroughs, the sudden bursts of motivation where everything feels possible. But life doesn't actually reward intensity very often. It rewards consistency. Daily progress, even when it feels small or unimpressive, quietly outperforms rare intensity over time. This is because intensity is unstable. It depends on mood, energy, and circumstances. Progress, on the other hand, depends on habits. And habits are far more reliable than motivation. When you rely on rare intensity, you create a cycle of excitement followed by exhaustion. You push hard for a short time, expect immediate results, and when those results don't arrive, disappointment sets in. That disappointment often leads to quitting, or worse, starting over again and again without ever building momentum. Daily progress avoids this trap. It asks for less effort in any single moment, but it demands commitment over time. That commitment is what compounds. Small actions repeated daily reshape your identity. When you read 10 pages a day, you become a reader. When you exercise lightly but consistently, you become someone who values health. When you think clearly and act deliberately each day, you become a rational decision maker. Identity change is powerful because once your behavior aligns with who you believe you are, progress becomes automatic rather than forced. Daily progress also protects you from burnout. Extreme effort drains mental and emotional reserves. Most people cannot sustain it without sacrificing health, relationships, or judgment. Slow, steady progress allows room for recovery, reflection, and adjustment. It keeps you in the game long enough for results to appear. And in most areas of life, time is the hidden advantage. Skills, trust, knowledge, and wealth all grow best when given patience and consistency. Another reason daily progress works is that it sharpens judgment. When you show up every day, you receive constant feedback. You notice what works and what doesn't. You refine your approach instead of repeating the same mistakes at a higher volume. Rare intensity often blinds people. It feels productive, but it doesn't leave space for thinking. Consistent effort encourages learning, and learning multiplies results. Perhaps the most important advantage of daily progress is that it lowers the psychological barrier to action. Starting small removes fear. You don't need courage to take a small step, but those steps accumulate into something meaningful. Over time, what once felt insignificant becomes unstoppable. The gap between where you are and where you want to be closes not through dramatic leaps, but through quiet, repeated movement in the right direction, guided by patience, reason, and discipline rather than emotion or impulse. Motivation is often treated as the engine of success, but in reality, it is unreliable and temporary. It rises when things feel exciting and disappears when effort becomes uncomfortable. Building habits, on the other hand, creates a system that functions regardless of mood, energy, or inspiration. Habits remove the need to feel ready. They turn progress into something automatic rather than something that must be negotiated with your emotions each day. When you chase motivation, you place your future in the hands of how you feel. Some days you will feel driven, optimistic, and energized. On those days, action feels easy, but most days are ordinary. They are quiet, repetitive, and unimpressive. If progress depends on excitement, then progress will be rare. Habits solve this problem by lowering the mental resistance to action. You don't ask yourself whether you feel like doing the work. You simply do what the system requires. Habits also protect you from decision fatigue. Every decision consumes mental energy, and constantly deciding whether to act eventually leads to avoidance. A habit is a decision made once and followed repeatedly. When behavior becomes routine, the mind is free to focus on quality, improvement, and judgment instead of persuasion. This is why disciplined people appear calm and consistent. They are not constantly battling themselves. Another advantage of habits is that they create structure in an unpredictable world. Life will interrupt you, disappoint you, and distract you. Motivation collapses under pressure, but habits adapt. Even when circumstances are imperfect, a well-built habit allows for partial progress instead of complete failure. Doing something small is always better than doing nothing, and habits make small action the default response. Over time, habits reshape identity. You begin to see yourself not as someone who tries, but as someone who does. This shift is subtle but powerful. Once behavior aligns with identity, consistency becomes natural. You don't need external encouragement because the behavior feels like a part of who you are. Motivation may spark action, but identity sustains it. Habits also compound. The benefits of a single good habit may seem minor at first, but their effects multiply over months and years. Reading daily sharpens thinking. Exercising regularly strengthens both body and discipline. Saving consistently builds security and patience. Each habit reinforces the others, creating a stable foundation that motivation alone can never provide. Perhaps most importantly, habits remove drama from progress. There is no waiting for the perfect moment, no emotional highs or lows, no frustration over missed enthusiasm. There is only quiet repetition guided by reason. In a world obsessed with excitement, the people who build lasting success are often the ones who move forward without noise, relying not on how inspired they feel, but on the habits they have deliberately chosen and patiently maintained. Ladies and gentlemen, talent attracts attention, but character determines outcomes. Many people assume that ability alone guarantees success, yet life repeatedly proves otherwise. Talent opens doors, but character decides how long those doors remain open and what happens after you walk through them. Skill may create opportunity, but character governs how opportunity is handled, protected, and multiplied over time. Character compounds faster than talent because it influences every decision, especially the small ones that no one notices. A person with strong character shows up prepared, treats others fairly, and does what needs to be done even when it is inconvenient. These behaviors accumulate trust, and trust accelerates progress in ways talent alone cannot. People want to work with, invest in, and support those they can rely on. Reliability is a rare advantage, and it grows quietly with every consistent action. Talent can be fragile. It often depends on external validation and favorable conditions. When circumstances change or when competition increases, talent without character becomes unstable. Character, however, adapts. It allows a person to learn from mistakes rather than deny them, to improve rather than complain, and to persist rather than quit. Over time, this resilience creates a widening gap between those who merely possess ability and those who build something lasting. Another reason character compounds faster is that it reduces self-inflicted damage. Many talented individuals undermine themselves through poor judgment, ego, impatience, or shortcuts. Character acts as a filter against these costly errors. It encourages long-term thinking over short-term gain and restraint over impulse. Avoiding major mistakes often matters more than making brilliant moves, and character is what keeps those mistakes from happening repeatedly. Character also multiplies the value of talent. When ability is paired with honesty, discipline, and humility, improvement accelerates. Feedback is accepted instead of resisted. Collaboration replaces competition. Learning becomes continuous. Talent grows, but it grows within a stable framework that prevents collapse. Without character, talent may shine briefly. With character, it evolves and deepens. Over long periods of time, people notice patterns. They remember who kept their word, who remained calm under pressure, who took responsibility when things went wrong. These impressions don't fade easily, and they create opportunities that cannot be engineered through skill alone. Character builds a reputation, and reputation compounds like interest. It attracts better chances, better partnerships, and better environments for growth. Perhaps the most important aspect of character is that it sustains progress when talent is no longer enough. Eventually, effort matters more than ability, judgment matters more than speed, and patience matters more than brilliance. At that stage, character becomes the deciding factor. Talent may start the journey, but character determines the direction, the endurance, and the final destination, shaping success not through dramatic displays, but through steady, principled behavior repeated over time. Ladies and gentlemen, most serious problems in life do not come from bad luck, but from bad thinking repeated over time. Clear thinking acts as a protective barrier between impulse and action, and that barrier saves people from mistakes that are costly not only in money, but in time, health, relationships, and reputation. When thinking is unclear, emotions take control, and emotional decisions often carry consequences far larger than the moment that produced them. Clear thinking begins with slowing down. Many expensive mistakes happen because people rush to conclusions, act under pressure, or follow the crowd without independent judgment. When you pause and examine the situation calmly, you create space for reason. You ask simple but powerful questions. What is really happening here? What are the possible outcomes? What am I ignoring because it feels uncomfortable? This process may seem slow, but it prevents decisions that require years to fix. Another advantage of clear thinking is the ability to separate facts from stories. The mind naturally fills gaps with assumptions, fears, and hopes. These mental shortcuts can be dangerous. Clear thinkers challenge their own beliefs. They seek evidence, not reassurance. They understand that being wrong is not a failure, but refusing to examine error is. By correcting small misunderstandings early, they avoid large consequences later. Clear thinking also helps in recognizing incentives. People often act in predictable ways when rewards or penalties are involved. Understanding what motivates others allows you to anticipate behavior instead of being surprised by it. Many costly mistakes occur when people assume good intentions without considering incentives. Clear thinkers remain polite but realistic, protecting themselves without becoming cynical. Another critical aspect of clear thinking is understanding trade-offs. Every choice excludes alternatives, and ignoring this fact leads to disappointment. Clear thinkers accept that there is no perfect option, only better or worse ones. By acknowledging costs up front, they avoid regret later. This mindset reduces emotional stress and increases satisfaction, even when outcomes are imperfect. Clear thinking also limits overconfidence. Confidence without evidence leads people to take risks they do not understand. Clear thinkers respect complexity. They know the limits of their knowledge and avoid situations where ignorance is expensive. This humility keeps them out of trouble more often than brilliance ever could. Perhaps the greatest value of clear thinking is that it prevents repetition of mistakes. When something goes wrong, clear thinkers analyze causes instead of assigning blame. They adjust behavior and move forward wiser. Over time, this creates a widening gap between those who learn and those who repeat the same errors at higher stakes. Life is not generous to those who ignore reality. It quietly charges interest on poor decisions. Clear thinking reduces those hidden costs by encouraging patience, skepticism, and rational evaluation. It does not guarantee success, but it dramatically lowers the price of failure, protecting your future by helping you avoid mistakes that cannot easily be undone. Ladies and gentlemen, extraordinary lives are rarely built through dramatic actions or sudden transformations. They are shaped through small disciplines practiced daily, often unnoticed and unimpressive in the moment. These disciplines do not demand exceptional talent or perfect conditions. They require commitment to simple behaviors repeated consistently over time. What appears ordinary on a single day becomes powerful when sustained across years. Small disciplines work because they are manageable. They lower resistance and make action possible even on difficult days. A short walk, a few pages read, a brief moment of reflection, or a small financial decision made wisely may seem insignificant. But these actions accumulate. Each repetition reinforces the behavior, strengthens self-trust, and builds momentum. Momentum does not announce itself, but it quietly carries people further than bursts of effort ever could. Daily discipline also shapes the way a person sees themselves. When you keep promises to yourself, no matter how small, confidence grows naturally. You begin to trust your own word. This self-trust changes behavior. Instead of relying on external pressure or encouragement, action becomes internal and steady. Over time, discipline becomes part of identity and progress no longer feels forced. Another powerful effect of small disciplines is their ability to prevent decline. Life naturally moves toward disorder if left unattended. Health weakens, skills fade, and relationships drift without consistent care. Daily discipline acts as maintenance. It preserves strength, sharpens thinking, and keeps priorities aligned. Preventing loss often matters more than achieving. Gains and small daily actions are remarkably effective at doing so. Small disciplines also compound in unexpected ways. One good habit often leads to another. Consistent exercise improves energy, which improves focus, which improves decision-making. Reading daily improves understanding, which improves judgment, which improves opportunities. These chains of improvement are not planned in advance. They emerge naturally when discipline creates stability. Another important benefit is that small disciplines reduce fear. Large goals can feel overwhelming and lead to procrastination. Small actions feel achievable. By focusing on what can be done today, anxiety decreases and action increases. Progress continues without emotional drama. Over time, the distance traveled surprises even the person doing the work. Perhaps most importantly, small disciplines create resilience. When challenges arise, disciplined individuals do not collapse because their foundation is strong. They have routines to return to, habits that steady them, and a history of persistence that gives them confidence. They may not avoid hardship, but they navigate it with greater control. Extraordinary lives are not defined by constant excitement or public recognition. They are built quietly through repeated choices made when no one is watching. Small disciplines practice daily shape behavior, strengthen character, and guide direction. Over time, these simple actions accumulate into something rare and powerful, not through intensity or luck, but through patience, consistency, and the steady application of self-control.